Individuals in every community are living in recovery from mental and substance use disorders. Begin your recovery journey. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Individuals in every community are living in
Good evening. My name is Kate Mahoney, and I'm the Executive Director of the Naomi Ruth Cohen Institute for Mental Health Education at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. September is National Recovery Month, so you just saw a brief video about Recovery Month. And I'm very happy today that our guest is Dr. Seth Harkins, who is the Executive Director of Serenity Academy. Dr. Harkins, can you talk a little bit about Serenity Academy and how you arrived at the idea of getting it started?
Serenity Academy is a school to be opened in September 2018. And the target population are students with substance use disorders. So there's a little history behind this in the sense that there was such an effort some time ago, about a decade ago. It wasn't successful, but those who were on the board of directors never lost the dream. And so the dream has been to create a recovery culture school for adolescents with challenges in the areas of addiction. So that's that is essentially the population we serve. And the mission of the school is essentially to provide students with a high quality secondary education and to at the same time expose them to a recovery culture school so that their recovery can be sustained, enhanced, deepened, etc. So that by the time that they leave, they're sufficiently stable that they can manage their recovery beyond high school, which we know is sort of a precarious thing for many students with substance use disorders. They may be able to find recovery in secondary school, but then it often gets lost when they go to college. So the prospect here is to have students be in a culture of recovery, have it sustained, have it deepened, and prepare them then for their next step, whatever that might be in college or career readiness.
So it sounds exciting. It sounds like you're really planning an integrated model where you'll have high-quality, top-notch educators who understand issues about substance use disorders and recovery, and will be supporting young people to reach their potential both around being successful academically, but also being healthy and making good decisions and moving forward in their recovery.
The thing that I think that's really critical about the school is that there has to be high standards of excellence, academic excellence, and yet academic excellence has to be paired with the kind of social emotional learning and treatment learning that sustains and deepens the student's recovery. So we do know this much, that for many high schools in the Chicago proper in the Chicago metropolitan area, there are very, very limited opportunities for students who are struggling with these challenges to recover in their own community high schools or private schools or charter schools. So we hope to be that alternative and provide that kind of environment for these students.
And you plan to open in fall of 2018, so next year when it's back to school season like it is now, students will have this additional option, right?
And I think it will be attractive to students in the sense that we're intentionally locating in the loop so that students can get to us easily, and also so that we can use the resources, the cultural resources of the loop as part of our overall curriculum.
And is your plan that it'll be students who live only within the Chicago city limits, or will this be open to students in the greater Chicagoland area?
Well, it's important to note that we're a private school. So as a private school, students can enroll with us from wherever they live. So one not need be a resident of the city of Chicago to enroll. One could be in one of the suburbs. And then the issues become, getting from point A to point B and those sorts of things. So we look forward to enrolling students across the whole spectrum of the Chicago area.
Oh, it really sounds exciting. And if people want more information, I know you brought a little bit of information about how they can reach you by phone. So I'm just going to put that down and make sure that everybody gets a little bit of access to learning more about how to contact you.
So it's a very easy contact online at SerenityAcademyChicago.org. And we plan to be located at 25 East Washington. And there is a phone number there. Feel free to call the phone number, and we'll certainly be taking calls, questions as we move forward.
Great. And so I guess another couple of questions is, you said that someone had tried this, they thought about this in the past, and now you really have the plan and the resources, and it sounds like the right people on board on your board of directors to really make this happen. Are there other recovery high schools in Illinois?
We're affiliated with the Association of Recovery Schools, which is a national organization. It links together about 30 such schools across the country. So there is, for example, a recovery high school in Indianapolis, one in Madison, and various places throughout the country. There are none in Illinois, and we would be the first in Illinois. So Chicago seems to be the place to begin our work, but our long-term vision is a facility in Chicago as well as in the suburbs.
Wow, that's very exciting. And it would be for students, high school students 9th through 12th grade? Is that kind of the plan? And
so at least according to the school code, we could serve students up to age 20, up through age 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because one of the things it's my understanding is that sometimes when someone has struggled with substance use disorders, they might be behind in credits. They might have had some disruptions to their more typical high school education. So with you, they could both do kind of credit recovery and learn to get back on track?
So credit recovery would be an integral part of the program. You're absolutely accurate that many students, because of their challenges, have lost credits, have not been consistently engaged in school, and are sort of behind the academic 8-ball. So our job is to catch them up and at the same time provide them with a stimulating, motivating curriculum that will be as experience-based as we can make it.
Fabulous. And would you be accepting young people who might have a broad range of substance use disorders? So someone who maybe had struggled with alcohol abuse or alcohol use disorder or marijuana or other drugs?
I think it covers the full gamut. My experience as a school administrator over the years is that students who have substance use disorders are complicated. They rarely have a single problem. There are multiple facets to their issues. Some may be family-based, some may be community-based, some may be a range of developmental issues, but it's not uncommon that mental illness and substance use disorders interface with one another. And as a recovery community, as a recovery culture, we have to be able to address those concerns.
And yet at the same time, many people who struggle with substance use disorders are very bright. They might, so do you have plans that you'd be able to challenge someone academically from a broad range, someone who might need advanced math, advanced sciences, etc.?
That's a really important question I think you've asked. I think the reality is that our curriculum will be highly differentiated and individualized. So we know from our professional experiences that students come from an intellectual range, some of which may be at the upper ranges. They have to be challenged. If not challenged, they'll get bored. If bored, that challenges their recovery and so forth. On the other hand, students that are academically delayed or have significant cognitive or learning disabilities kinds of issues have to be individually challenged as well. Otherwise, their recovery is compromised by their inability to feel successful in school.
So it really sounds like you have a great background in education. Could you talk a little bit about that, and also about some of the other people who are in leadership roles for Serenity Academy?
I'm currently retired, but except for this role. I've spent about 37 years in school administration. In the course of that, I think I've done just about every administrative job that one can have in administration, from a department chair to a superintendent to a CEO of a residential school to running a statewide mental health program. So I've had the good fortune to have had a broad range of experiences, and in the course of that, have encountered many individuals with substance use disorders. And it's not been uncommon in my experience that many of those individuals were misclassified, misdiagnosed within the educational system. Oftentimes students found their way into special education programs as students with emotional disorders and things of that nature, but their primary issue was substance use. And so we think it's important that when we provide a program, that we provide one that provides not only a high-quality program in terms of the instruction, but one that's diagnostically sophisticated, so that students are actually addressing the real issues that they need to address.
So it sounds like you got this really wonderful background of school leadership, but really being able to individualize services for students, and that there's nothing cookie cutter about the approach that you're taking to providing this high quality education for students in recovery.
Yeah, I think the whole board is very committed to being able to meet each student at his or her need and level. I want to say a couple words about the board, because I think this is a really unique board. We have 11 board members, all of whom are in the field of working with children, adolescents, families, and communities challenged with addiction and substance use. So it's a board, I think, that's uniquely passionate about this. And I think it's the passion is really what's brought us to the point where we are now. And so we're looking forward to the kind of fundraising that we'll be doing over the next year so that we can open the doors in September of 2018.
Wow. It really sounds like you have such a committed group of people that are really here to be a safety net for young people to start with, but then to really help them launch into reaching their maximum potential, whatever that might be, whether it's heading off then to a four-year university, finding some other vocation that fits their passion and feeds their souls. And
well, I think there's a real spirit within the board about what we think about as a recovery community. So we can think of the school culture as a recovery community, but then there are recovery communities beyond. So there are recovery communities throughout the Chicago metropolitan area, and part of the thing we want to be able to do is link our students to those recovery communities so that when they exit Serenity Academy, they have a network of support that they can count on. And as we know, this is really a lifelong challenge. This is not something that just comes and goes. So that individuals with this challenge need to be connected to a recovery community ongoing, and we hope that we're successful to the point where students in recovery learn what most people in recovery learn, which is you have to give it away. And you have to be working with others as a way of addressing your substance use issues.
And so it sounds like, certainly substance use disorders are essential health issues that impact large numbers of people in our city and our country, and that you're really trying to address those health needs, the psychosocial, emotional needs, and educational needs all together, which is really exciting. What about for families? How might a family come to you or understand that maybe their student might be more successful in Serenity Academy than maybe in their local community school?
Well, I think that begins with an honest conversation. It begins with the parent making an assessment about what their son or daughter needs. And it also needs to include that son or daughter, because the commitment that will be made to the school will be our commitment to serve the student, but also the student's commitment to be in recovery, to be engaged actively in a program of recovery, and the family to be engaged with us. So we know that substance use disorders are a family disease. Therefore, we have to have an emphasis on family engagement in the process. And it's a unique developmental stage because adolescents are at a point of trying to find their own way, separate, determine their own identity. And parents have a tricky role to play in that. To what extent do we support in a healthy way? To what extent do we support the natural dependency needs of students at this point? And at the same time, how do we begin to let go and let them find their way, including making the kind of mistakes that adolescents make in order to be able to learn what they need to learn.
And one of the reasons that we thought for the Naomi Ruth Cohen Institute that you'd be a perfect guest for our show is that we're really working on trying to reduce stigma connected to a variety of mental health conditions that impact people in our community, and substance use disorders certainly are one of those issues that we want to make sure that we're working on battling the stigma and making sure people feel both access to the services that they need and deserve, and that they're being reintegrated into the community. And it sounds like Serenity Academy would be really helpful in helping to support that effort.
Well, I mean, we've learned over our experience that stigma is a huge issue, whether it is in the field of mental health or it's in the field of recovery, and both interface so much. And we know that this is a shame-based illness. So it's really important that we be able to address the issues of stigma. I think part of that is, really why we think we need to build a recovery community and a recovery culture in a school. That's our way of addressing that. Students who don't have that luxury, who don't have that kind of support in public schools or in private schools or in charter schools, are often quite stigmatized, and that's one of the reasons why they relapse.
Absolutely. One of the things, we started our show showing a short video that comes from SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration branch of our federal government, that talks about September being National Recovery Month. And there's a lot of weeks, days, and months throughout our year focused on a variety of health issues, but not everyone who's watching today probably knew that September is National Recovery Month. So we're excited to be making sure that people recognize that and think about ways that they can step up and support people in recovery. Just the fact that your school will exist will have a message, I think, far beyond the number of students that you actually serve, but knowing that it's an option on the continuum, that you're out there, that recognizing that substance use disorders impact teenagers, not only adults, but impact teens. There's so much that you're saying that's going to help, I think, reduce stigma and provide education about this really important health issue. And then beyond that, making sure people feel like they have the resources and supports they need to be successful.
Well, to elaborate just a little bit on that, I think we're part of a movement. I think the Association of Recovery Schools is a movement. It's been small. I think it will grow. I think we're all very aware of the national healthcare crisis we have in terms of opioids and other addictive substances. It does not seem that this is going to improve quickly. And we think that schools like ours will be part of that movement. We do know that probably 1 in 20 individuals have some kind of alcohol or substance abuse disorders across the country. Now, if you extrapolate that out in terms of children and their growth and trajectories for development, the likelihood is that many of those are going to be addicted at some point and will require some kind of intervention. We hope to be part of that network.
I think that's really exciting, and the idea that there's going to be this resource for students and for their families, that you're really starting a movement to address this, really it makes an important statement, and that students can come out and feel supported while they're getting a top-notch education, that their needs will be responded to, is really powerful. And it is my understanding from you that you're set up as a not-for-profit organization, that you have a board of directors that's working on both bringing in the funds to get the school started, that there would be tuition, but that you're going to look at sort of some families' ability to pay at some level, or there'd be some support for students who need that but couldn't afford the full tuition.
As you can expect, a program like this is expensive. So we also know that there are just a handful that can afford the full tuition. So we need to be able to make alternatives for those who need some kind of scholarship support, and that's part of the fundraising.
Right. So I encourage people to look up Serenity Academy, to think about what more we can all be doing to address adolescent substance use and providing supports. And because it's National Recovery Month now, I wanted to give a last shout out to an event that's happening on October 15th up in Evanston, Step Up for Recovery, which is a charity stair climb. As opposed to some of the ones that are in downtown Chicago, this is a 20-story climb, but that if people want to come out and show their support for people living actively in recovery, that they could come to Step Up for Recovery. So the information's on your screen right now. We want to thank everyone for participating, and certainly Dr. Hawkins, we really want to thank you for coming today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.